God does exist. How do I know this? There are so many reasons out there, justifications as to the existence of God. But today I'm going to deal with one main thing, which is the cosmological reason. But first, before we enter into that, reasoning and justification or arguments, the first thing we're going to do is define who God is. And the late Ravi Zacharias would have defined God in such a miraculous way. I'm going to just show it to you.
He's the only entity in existence, the reason for whose existence is in himself. All other entities or quantities exist by virtue of something else. And in that sense, he alone is perfect. Uncaused, infinite, undependent. Being in essence.
So there we have a beautiful definition of who God is. And that one of the things that I want you to notice is that he's uncaused and eternal. And so now let's look at one of the justifications for the existence of God, which is the existence of the universe. And the universe is a Greek word, cosmos. It comes from the Greek word cosmos, and cosmos means everything in it. Everything, panta, everything. Some believe that the universe is eternal, that it exists all on its own. But we believe, and many persons believe, that the universe exists because there was a cause. The universe is the effect, and there was a cause for its existence. Because if you believe that the universe is eternal and existed on its own, it means that you're saying that nothing created something. And in your own thinking, can you see and imagine that nothing can create something? Think about it. Let's take time, for example. We start at the beginning of the day, and then we end in the night, and then we restart again. Time does not exist on its own. There is a cause. There's something that caused time to come into existence, and we are now in the present. So the fact that we are now in the present means that time is not infinite. Therefore, time has a beginning and it definitely has an end. Let's look at the philosophical column argument for the existence of God. It says that the universe has a beginning and it would have been caused by an uncaused cause. So let's look at this uncaused cause. This uncaused cause must have the ability to create, because nothing will exist if it wasn't created. The other thing is not just the ability, but the willingness to create. And then we have to ask ourselves then why? Why then create? So that is the cause. Creation is the effect of the cause. Therefore, this uncaused cause must exist outside of the universe in which it is that he created. And then we saw the definition of Ravi Zacharias about the definition of who God is. God is, he's uncaused and he's eternal. And so I want to read this, right? So for the universe to exist, because you know and agree that the universe has a beginning, right? Everything has a beginning on this earth, including me. My beginning began in 20th of April, 19, and a year that God knows himself. So anyway, so I just want to read this for you guys. So what kind of thing will cause this universe to exist? It must rely on nothing for its existence as one. The criteria for this being, right? Has the power to create something from nothing, has a will to do it or not do it, and has the characteristics of existing outside of creation. And who do we say that is? Who do we say that is? It's God. Let's look at his Big Bang Theory, for example. The Big Bang Theory just proves that the universe has a beginning, and something would have caused that explosion to take place. Another philosophical argument for the existence of God is the Thomas argument. And I must say, this talks about motion, and motion is the effect, but it must have a cause. So taking motion into example, let's think about it in a very realistic way. Let's look at the wind. Wind blows. We don't actually see it, but what causes the wind to blow? It is really the difference between hot air and cold air and the atmospheric pressure. So you see in the coastal areas like an island like Trinidad and Tobago, will be quite breezy, especially when we're living close to the shore, because it is that the hot air rises as we live in school and the cold air descends, and so therefore you have the land heats up, and then the land heats up much faster than the ocean, and so therefore you have the hot air rising, then the ocean cool air, it comes onto the land, and then there's an atmospheric pressure that takes place, and then the wind blows. So it's very quite breezy, so it kind of balances itself out in a circular motion. So when we look at it that way, it is the same thing when we look at rain, and when we look at condensation and the whole world. So there is a cause and there's an effect, and so nothing happens on this earth. The flower blooms. What causes the flower to bloom? There's always a cause and there's always an effect. Just like the universe exists because there is a beginning and there is a cause for the universe. We see that with the Big Bang theory proving that the universe actually had a beginning. So the question you have to ask yourself now is why? And this is the last argument I'll mention. Have you guys ever spoken to the alpha generation now? Long time ago, well, in my generation, which is millennial generation, when our parents tell us to do something, we do it immediately. We don't ever ask why. But this generation, they ask you why. And you must have a reason to justify your why. And so here, this argument is about the why. Leibnizian, let me just not massacre his name, is Leibnizian cosmological argument. And basically, he's asking, why does the universe exist? He observes like, everything that exists has a reason for its existence, like everything, right? And so basically he's asking why. And because we do not have the answer as to why, the only way we can actually get this why is from who created the universe. And so therefore this reason for the why will exist outside of the universe. And so this is what he said, which I love very much. Thus the universe cannot provide a sufficient explanation for its own existence or state of affairs. The only sufficient reason must be found outside of the universe in a being whose existence is self-explanatory and logically necessary. And that being we call God. And that's why Rabbi Zacharias had a best estimation of who God is. So let's summarize. I was a math major, right? And one of these sums I remembered recently was that if A implies B and B implies C, then A implies C. So whatever begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, and therefore the universe has a cause. The universe did not come on its own. It means that an uncaused cause caused the universe, and therefore the universe in itself is the effect of an uncaused cause. This uncaused cause would exist outside of the universe, and we call this being God. Be blessed.